What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the TheWagerZone podcast. On this episode, we're going to be breaking down UFC 303. On this episode, we were honestly expecting to be starting this whole UFC journey with the podcasting on the Conor McGregor card. It was really anticipated that Conor McGregor was going to be making his return, and it's like he broke his toe, so I guess we're gonna have to be waiting for it. Was waiting for it. I was very excited for it. I'm pretty sure a lot of other people that are gonna be listening to this podcast were excited for it, and I'm pretty sure other people that are gonna be listening to this podcast were not even excited for it. They were just like, "Fuck Conor McGregor!" Like, I don't even like the dude. The fights that are on are even better than the fights that were before, but like being said, we do have some great fights on either way. We got Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochazka saving the day. Like, that fight's a banger for me. We got Diego Lopez versus Brian Ortega in the co-main event. Like, that's another banger. So there's a lot of fights on this card that is gonna be saving the card besides Conor McGregor being on the card. So, well, that being said, guys, let's actually get into this card. With the first fight here, we got Ricky Simón versus Vinicius Oliveira. With this fight, honestly, I think this fight's going to be really close, and it's going to be a greasy card. And the whole card's going to be greasy, and this fight's going to be really close as well. Ricky Simon's going to want to. We all know what he's going to want to do. He's going to try to take you down to the floor. His striking is decent. He has some really good overhands when he's coming in, but he's really mainly trying to strike to set up his takedown. So Ricky Simon's really going to be trying to take Vinicius Oliveira to the floor. I don't really see him being able to finish Vinicius Oliveira. Vinicius Oliveira, from the tape I've seen, has a decent chin. He's been hit with some decent shots that I've seen in the past, and he's taken them pretty well. And he has some pretty good takedown defense as well. I've seen in the past. He knows how to get his underhooks right away. When he gets taken down, he's no slouch on the floor. He's not going to just be letting Ricky Simón pass guard and do whatever he wants to do on the floor. I think he's going to be able to just probably get up a few times. He's going to land a few strikes. I think this is going to be a really close fight to where Ricky Simón will probably go out there in the beginning where he has his full energy. He'll probably go out, take down Vinicius Oliveira after a couple takedown tries. He'll hold his ground posture, and he'll throw down some ground and pound, and I think he'll probably win the first round. Second round coming in, Ricky Simón will probably go out there and do the same exact thing and get ground control, and he'll just win the second round as well. And the third round is where I think Vinicius Oliveira is going to be a little scary, and this is going to get a little greasy, where the second round I think is going to be a little decent where Ricky Simón wins, but I do think Oliveira is going to have his moments in the second round where he does land a couple shots, but Ricky Simon's eventually going to be taking him down. But in the third round is where Vinicius Oliveira, I think, is really going to be showing a lot of it, where Ricky Simon's going to be tired at that point. Their bodies are going to be sweaty. He's not going to be able to be holding him down as easy, and he's not going to be able to take him down as easy. And I think Vinicius Oliveira, I've seen, has a decent gas tank, and I just think Ricky Simón, after shooting a lot of takedowns that he's going to be doing, he's going to be wasting a lot of his energy. And so the third round, I think Vinicius Oliveira is going to be starting to put it on Ricky Simón, and we're going to be having our butts puckered up when we're watching these fights, because we're going to be thinking like we're going to be losing our ticket. But at the end of the day, I'm going to be taking the over 2.5. I'm going to be picking Ricky Simón to be winning this fight by a decision. I do think he's going to be winning a 29-28 decision if I was going to be judging this fight pre-fight. Vinicius Oliveira does have that knockout chance in our third round. I really think he does, with Ricky Simon's going to be getting desperate after he's going to get hit with some shots. He's going to be probably maybe get hit with the knee coming in. And like I said, it's going to be a very greasy fight. So just save you from those scorecards where, you know how some fight cards you just get robbed sometimes, and where we be thinking one person wins and the other person wins just because the damage, and some judges just don't like just control time, where Ricky Simón just going to try to be getting a lot of ground control time. So to save you from the greasy scorecards, I'm going to be taking the over 2.5, or even the fight to go to decision. I don't see either fighter getting finished, and if a fighter is going to be getting finished, I think it's going to be Ricky Simón in the later third round. So that's where I'm saying the over 2.5 will probably be the safest play. Okay, if we get into this next fight, guys, it's going to be Carlos Hernandez going against Ray Tsuruya. I hope I said his first name right, but yeah, getting into this next fight, this is probably going to be I think one of my confident plays of the day. I'm gonna be taking, just to let you guys know right now, I'm probably gonna be taking the over 1.5 in this fight. It's set at a minus 160 right now. I don't know if it's gonna be getting slammed. So before fight night. So if you're gonna be betting fight night, I'm not sure what it's gonna be on fight night. But right now it's about minus 160 for over 1.5 for this fight. Ray Tsuruya has fought a lot of lower level competition in the regional scenes in China, and the road to UFC, he's also fought like a lot of lower level competition. He hasn't really fought anybody that's good anyway. Like, he's just really tries to get the fight to the floor. He has some okay striking. It's nothing crazy. He leaves his chin up in the air. He likes to throw like wild strikes in the clinch, and mainly tries to take you down to the floor. Where Carlos Hernandez has shown to have some decent striking. He comes in, he throws a lot of jabs, he presses you forward, he likes to walk forward. Like, he's been in some dog fights. He's somewhat of a vet now. He's been in a lot of decent fights, and a lot of his fights have been kind of close, where he just dogs it out at the end. Besides the Tatsutara fight, he got caught with the shot, and that shot basically just was done. He just got ground and pounded, and it was over in that fight. But that loss doesn't really seem that bad now, where we see where Tyra has gone so far, where he just fought against Alex Perez, and he looked pretty decent before the injury, but he looked pretty decent as well before that happened. So with the Carlos Hernandez shows in the Tyra fight, I've seen that he showed that he can stop some some takedowns, and he showed that he can just throw a decent amount of strikes. Where I think in this fight, I don't think he could actually win this fight. I'm not saying that Carlos Hernandez is going to be an underdog play, because if I was going to take Carlos Hernandez, if there's people out there that do want to take a greasy decision, I would probably take Carlos Hernandez by split decision, because I do think he is going to probably win one of the rounds. I do think this fight is probably going to go to decision, in my opinion. So I think that the over 1.5 is going to be a lock, I would think, because Carlos Hernandez, I don't think is going to go out in the first round. The first round, I think Tsuruya is probably going to try to be taking him down, and I don't think he's really going to be successful with the takedowns right away. I think Carlos Hernandez is going to be giving him a really hard time with the takedowns, and he's going to be trying really hard to press him up against the fence for like most half of the round. And it's going to be a competitive round with the first one, where Tsuruya is going to win the round off of control time, and then the second round is where I think Carlos Hernandez is actually going to start picking it up the pace, where Tsuruya has never actually faced adversity like that, where he's going to be having someone that's actually fought a lot of decent fighters before, and actually has been around the game a decent amount of times. And Carlos Hernandez is going to start picking up the pace again, and I think Carlos Hernandez will pull out the second round. And going into that third round, it'll probably be 1-1, and at that point, it's going to come out to who's more of a dog, and it's going to come out to Tsuruya just trying to just shoot takedowns desperately, and he might even get the takedowns, but Carlos Hernandez might be a little tired at that point too, where they're both going to be tired. So at that point, it's going to just come out to who's going to be wanting to fight more, and who's more of a dog. And that's why I said a split decision is for Carlos Hernandez would probably be the money bet for value if you were trying to get a crazy bet. And I would guess that. I haven't looked at the odds at the moment. I don't know if it's out at the moment for that bet, but I would say that bet might even be like a plus like 1,400, plus 1,500, something like that. So yeah, over 1.5 is the play, and if you want to get greasy with it, take Carlos Hernandez by. If we get into this next fight with Andrei Arlovsky versus Martin Buday, this is another fight I want to say I'm actually pretty confident in, and it's kind of scary for me to say that because I'm not really high on Martin Buday, but Andrei Arlovsky is getting up there in age. The guy is 45 years old. He is taking a lot of punishment. At this point, I just think he's ready to retire. I don't think he probably should be fighting anymore after this, after he loses to Martin Buday. I think Martin Buday is probably a decent person to be putting your money on this week. he's known to be a person that shits the bed, and he doesn't really do good fighting when you put your money on him. It's like when you put your money on Martin Buday, you think he's confident, he goes out there and does horrible, and then if I want to sit here and say, oh, Andre Arlovski's going to beat Martin Buday because Martin Buday is the perfect person to put him against, because Martin Buday is a person that's going to do horrible against someone like Andre Arlovski. But when someone's 45 years old, I just can't see myself putting my money behind them, man. I just think it's time to retire. So Martin Buday is actually one of my more confident picks of the day. I would say early parlay in the card with the over 1.5 and Martin Buday, and the last fight would be actually a good parlay for the first two fights of the night. I mean, the first within the first three fights of the night, you can put them in a parlay for those two. And I just think Martin Buday is going to come in the first round, and he's going to put it on him in the first round and land a couple heavy shots. And Andre Arlovski is going to just not even be landing that much. Probably get pushed up against a fence by Martin Buday and get hit with some knees in the clinch, get hit with the overhand right, and take some hard shots in the beginning. And then the second round is where I think Martin Buday puts it on him. He's going to just come at Andre Arlovski, and the pace is going to be too much for Andre Arlovski at his age, and I think he's going to get caught with one of those big shots, and he's eventually going to go down. I think his chin is done, and I think Buday is just going to... Not saying Buday is like a elite striker himself, but I just think the way he fights, he's just going to come forward, and when he just throwing strikes, eventually one of them is going to land. And when Andre Arlovski is just going to be standing there to get hit at this age, I think he's going to get knocked out probably in the second round. And if this fight was 5 years ago, I'd be taking Andre Arlovski to be beating Martin Buday. But yeah, like I said, one of my more confident picks in this day, I'm going to be taking Martin Buday to be winning this fight in the second round. The bet I'm actually going to be making for this fight is Martin Buday by knockout. That's probably going to be my bet for the day for this fight, and I'm going to be parlaying it with the over 1.5 and the Carl. Okay, if we get into this next fight was Michelle Waterson-Gomez going against Jillian Robertson. With this fight, it's going to be the clash between two different styles, with Michelle Waterson-Gomez having the karate background and Jillian Robertson having the jiu-jitsu background. This fight is clearly going to be where Michelle Waterson-Gomez is going to want to keep this fight standing up, and Jillian Robertson is going to want to get this fight to the floor. With this fight, I think... I don't know if Waterson's going to be able to keep the fight standing up, to be honest. I hesitated right there because I wanted to say that, oh yeah, Waterson could probably keep the fight standing up, keep some jabs going. But honestly, like, I know it's women's MMA, and we all know what goes on in women's MMA. The decisions are wild sometimes. Sometimes the biggest underdogs come in and win. But I feel like that happens in guys MMA and male MMA as well, but I feel like in female MMA it happens all the time. So, but yeah, I'm just gonna say I'm confident in Jillian Robertson. I think she's gonna be able to get Michelle Waterson-Gomez down to the floor, and Michelle Waterson-Gomez has shown that when she gets taken down to the floor, she doesn't really know what to do when she's down there. She kind of panics and tries to get back up really fast, and I just think Jillian Robertson is due for a submission victory in this fight. I would say Jillian Robertson is probably going to take her down once in the first round. Just go after a whole bunch of submissions where Michelle Waterson-Gomez is going to be trying to get up, and she's going to have like a round of energy where she's going to have a couple bursts. And after that first round, I don't think that burst is going to be there for her anymore. And I think Jillian Robertson is going to take her down again in the second round and probably get a submission in the second round, in my opinion. I think she's going to take her down in the second round again and probably hop and get on her back and end up getting a rear naked choke and finish this fight via submission in the second round. This next fight with Peyton Talbot versus Giannis Gamori. Peyton Talbot's a huge favorite on this one. He's a minus 1,500 favorite, so I don't really know what much to do with this fight from a betting perspective. In my opinion, when someone's a minus 1,500 favorite, and if they're not a Donestagi wrestler that's known just to take you down and just hold position and not do anything, where someone like Merab Dvalishvili, where he's not from a Dagestani wrestler, but where someone that's like him is just going to take you down and hold you there and just not even try to get a finish. That's the only way I wouldn't say this goes. But if you're anywhere over a minus 1,000 favorite, I would think you're going to get the finish. So I've been a big fan of Peyton Talbot since he made his what's it called, his debut on the Contender Series, and then coming to his debut in the UFC, like, he just looked good everywhere. Like, he has pretty good wrestling, he has good takedown defense, he has good striking, his cardio is really good. He fights out of Reno, and I just know the kid is like really good. Like, I've watched him for a while now, for all of his fights he's had, and he even in his regional team fights that I've seen, he's just an all-around good fighter. Where someone like Giannis Gamoria, I think the only way he's gonna win this fight is he's gonna come in there trying to throw some heavy strikes that are wild, and I don't think any of them are really gonna be landing. I think he's just gonna probably even shooting some takedowns. He's not gonna be able to get the takedowns, and this fight is just gonna be Peyton Talbot just taking advantage of him though every single way possibly he can. And I would say Peyton Talbot is probably going to get the finish in the second or third round, because Giannis Gamoria has shown that he doesn't have like a gas tank that Peyton Talbot has. Like, Peyton Talbot's going to keep coming at him. Like, if you're going to be on a Gamoria side and be betting Gamoria side, I think the only way you're going to be betting this is if you bet Gamoria in the first round, because he's going to be, after the first round, his cardio is going to be gone. I think Peyton Talbot's he's a smart fighter as well. I think this game plan for him is to come in there, land some strikes against Gamoria, take Gamoria down, and just wear on him, and then after he wears on him, he's just going to probably finish him in the second round or third round via knockout. That would be my prediction for this fight. Next fight, guys, this would probably be another one where I'm going to be taking a slight underdog chance. We're plus money on Jean Silva. I like Charles Dane a lot. I like both of these fighters, but Charles Jourdain has just shown to me in his previous fights that his takedown defense is not really all the way there. Like, he has pretty great striking, he has great spinning attacks, and his striking is pretty elite, but his takedown defense is pretty suspect. And someone like Jean Silva, who has pretty strong takedowns, and he's big for the weight class, as in his size. Like, he's not really as like super tall, but I mean, like, his body frame is actually pretty big, and I think he cuts a lot of weight to get down to this weight class, and I think he's just gonna be clinching on to the body of Charles Jourdain and eventually just take down Charles Jourdain. And Charles Jourdain, I don't think he's gonna be able to get back up, and I think it's gonna be a rough day for him, to be honest, against Jean Silva. With Jean Silva fighting with the Fighting Nerds, fighting with the Fighting Nerds, a lot of their fighters are very smart. They have great game plans. So Jean Silva's not going to go in there, in my opinion, and say, "Oh, I'm going to try and strike with Charles Jourdain," because that would be a way that he's going to lose. So with him having a great camp behind him and him on a good streak, and Charles Jourdain is on an up and down trajectory right now, where he lost 2 fights and he won 2 fights, and now he just lost his last fight against Sean Woodson, and I think he's going to lose this one again, where he's just probably going to get taken down, and he might win a round where I could see Jean Silva coming out, taking him down in the first round, and the first round being very competitive, where Charles Jourdain might pulls it off, and then the longer the fight goes, I think the cardio wears on Charles Jourdain, and he eventually keeps getting taken down, and I'm going to be seeing Jean Silva winning this fight via decision, and this fight could actually get greasy, and this might be one of the fights you would want to take a split decision victory on whoever you think is going to win, because this fight's going to get greasy. I do think it's going to be close, but it's going to come down to where Jean Silva is going to be able to take down Charles Jourdain with the lack of takedown defense. And so, yeah, that's what I'm going to be going for this fight. I think Jean Silva is going to win this fight via unanimous decision or via split decision. Okay, getting into this fight, this is going to be a really good fight between two vets of the game that both been to this next fight, where Joe Pyfer versus Marc-Andre Barrieux. This fight is gonna come down to two either things, in my opinion. I think this fight's either gonna be where Joe Pyfer's gonna come out there and land a hard shot against Marc-Andre Barrieux and just knock him out in the first round, because we've seen where Joe Pyfer has a very explosive power in the first round, where he can land some very hard shots and he can stop some takedowns, where I don't even think Marc-Andre Barrieux can even try to take him down, to be honest. I think he's gonna stand there and just walk forward and just keep his pace, how he just walks forward and throws strikes at him, to be honest. How how he just turns to turn into a dogfight. He doesn't really like to stand there and be technical. He'll just walk forward and just throw and throw and throw. And somewhere where Joe Pyfer is going to be standing there and just try to land the hard shot. And I don't think he's going to be able to do that for 3 rounds against Marc-Andre Barriault. So that's why I say it's going to be like a first round or bust for Joe Pyfer, in my opinion. I think if he doesn't knock out Marc-Andre Barriault in the first round, I think Marc-Andre Barriault, the constant pressure he's going to be putting on Joe Pyfer with the strikes, he's going to keep walking forward and someone like Marc-Andre Barriault, he doesn't stop throwing punches. So I can see the first round going Joe Pyfer. And if you are a live betting person, this would probably be really good live betting perspective. A live betting chance for anybody to come in, because Joe Pyfer is going to put it on Marc-Andre Barriault in the first round, and you could probably get Marc-Andre Barriault at a minus 350, minus 300, minus 300, maybe even a plus 500, plus 350, plus 500, somewhere anywhere in that area. So after the first round, if Marc-Andre Barriault lasts that round, then just go in there and live bet Marc-Andre Barriault, because we could be seeing here another split decision where Marc-Andre Barriault just tires out Joe Pyfer and ends up winning the fight by split decision or unanimous decision when he wins the second and third round over Joe Pyfer. Okay, guys, let's get into this main card now with Ian Machado Gary and Michael Venom Page leading us off. With this fight, it's going to be 2 technical strikers, where at first when I saw this fight get announced, I thought it was going to be a banger. And at first, I really said I thought someone was going to get knocked out in this fight. But coming to think about it, I think this fight's going to be a boring fight. And I'm not going to take too long on this breakdown. I just think Ian Machado Gary is going to be a better technical striker, and he's going to pick apart Michael Venom Page from the outside, and it's going to be a boring fight where if you're on the Michael Venom Page side, I could see it too, where he does almost the same exact thing to Ian Machado Gary, where the judges probably have a hard time judging it because they don't know where the fight's going to go, where both of the guys are probably just going to be able to do a lot of standing there and showing off and telling each other to come on and taunting each other, where it's not going to be an exciting fight. And that's why I honestly, in my opinion, the over 2.5 seems like a lock for me. So in my opinion, for this fight, I would take Ian Machado Gary via decision, or it was over 2.5, just to save you from the Michael Venom Page. I don't see much really else to break down this fight. Yeah, Ian Machado Gary via decision. To this next fight with Mayra Bruna Silva versus Macy Chassain. This is another fight where I think is going to be really close. I've never been a really big fan of Mayra Bruna Silva. I've always think her striking has been pretty suspect, and her wins have came from a lot of wild submissions after she hasn't looked good before. And going into the Raquel Pennington fight, I thought she might even beat Raquel Pennington just because the age difference, but she showed really nothing against Raquel Pennington. Raquel Pennington basically dominated her and showed a lot of her weaknesses. And someone like Macy Chassain, I think you're not going to be able to take Macy Chassain down and just dominate her and bully her. I think she's a dog as a woman fighter, and she's going to be coming forward, and she's probably going to be getting the takedowns. And I don't think you're going to be able to throw those wild armbars from guard up and catch her with a guillotine or standing darce or anything like that. So yeah, this is probably another fight where I'm going to be taking this slight underdog with Macy Chassain, and I could even see a split decision right here, where those odds are always, I always like talking about split decisions because those odds are always about like plus 1,200, plus 1,500. So yeah, for this fight, not too much to break down. I can see this fight really going where Mayra Bruna Silva is they're both going to be picking each other apart, be landing some strikes, and then it's going to come down to where Macy Chassain eventually gets a takedown, and Mayra Bruna Silva just sits there in guard and just doesn't really know what to do, and eventually just gasses out. And Macy Chassain, being the dog that she is just going to be coming forward, keep landing the strikes, and she's still going to be in front of you. So give me Macy Chassain by decision, and if you want to get greasy with it too, just throw a little bit on the Macy Chassain by split decision, where Mayra Bruna Silva is going to have her moments where she is a okay fighter, where I'm not going to say she's horrible. So she's going to have her moments. So yeah, Macy Chassain by... Okay, for this next fight with Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze, this is one of those fights that I think is really close, and I don't think I have a really good read on it, and on it to be betting on it myself. So I'm not really going to be putting a lot of money invested into this fight. This is another one of those fights I'm going to be watching just as a fan to see how it is. I like Anthony Smith and I like Roman Dolidze. I think they're both pretty good fighters, but if I had to end up choosing a winner between these fights, I think Anthony Smith's going to come in and it's going to be a stand-up battle, and I just think Anthony Smith's chin's not all the way there anymore, and Roman Dolidze has showed that he has some hard strikes, and if he gets hit with one of Roman Dolidze's hard shots with his straight hands coming down the middle is over or one of his hooks, he's going to end up getting hurt, and he's going to end up falling down, he's probably going to get knocked out, or if he ends up taking down Roman Dolidze, I don't even think that's a great opportunity for him too, and he might get submitted there. So if I had to choose, I'll probably choose Roman Dolidze to win this fight via knockout or submission. I don't think this fight's going to be going to decision. And if this fight is going to go to decision, wait till after the first round. And if you want to live bet it, live bet Anthony Smith after the first round. I think you probably get a better number Anthony Smith. You might get Anthony Smith at a plus 300 after the first round if he does look okay. Roman Dolidze lands the hard shots in the first rounds and he doesn't sleep Anthony Smith right away. So yeah, I don't have a really good read on this fight, but if I had to choose, I would choose Roman Dolidze to finish Anthony Smith via submission or knockout. Okay, getting into this co-main event, I'm actually really excited for this fight, everybody. Brian Ortega versus Diego Lopez. Both of these guys have really great jiu-jitsu, with Diego Lopez actually being the jiu-jitsu teacher to Alexa Grasso, the champion. And Brian Ortega, everybody knows he's probably one of the most dangerous jiu-jitsu artists in the whole UFC, with him and Charles probably having the best jiu-jitsu in the UFC, and I think Diego Lopez might have something to say about that in this fight. So coming into this fight, when I saw the fight, I thought the line was gonna be where I thought I thought Brian Ortega was gonna be a minus 250 favorite, or even a minus 280, almost minus 300 favorite against Diego Lopez, just because the grappling, I really think the grappling is a lot better for Brian Ortega, and he showed in his comeback against Yair, like he almost dominated Yair. Yair didn't really do much against him, and I think his boxing is gonna be shown in this fight. I think he's a better striker than Diego Lopez. And he's fought everybody, and he's fought. The competition is way better for Brian Ortega. He's fought everybody. Diego Lopez's best win is Sadiq Youssef, and Sadiq Youssef is on his way out the door. I don't even think he's going to be in the UFC anymore soon. And someone like Brian Ortega, where he always gets the takedown. He took down Alexander Volkanovski 2 times. He took down Max Holloway. Took down Yair Rodriguez, and his boxing is legit. He has a chin. He's not going to get knocked out by one of these Diego Lopez crazy kicks or one of these shots if he gets landed on. I think he's going to take the shot. And if Diego Lopez wants to try Brian Ortega's jiu-jitsu, by all means he should try to do it, and he's going to get himself submitted, in my opinion. I can see this fight going back and forth for the first round, and then towards that second or third round, the dog of Brian Ortega is going to show, and I can see him start to put it on Diego Lopez and probably in my opinion, I think he's going to submit Diego Lopez in the end of the second round or the beginning of the third round. So, yeah, my bet for this fight is just take Brian Ortega as an underdog straight up. I think he's going to be the underdog of the day, and I'm pretty confident in him. I'm going to have a decent amount of money on Brian Ortega, so hopefully Brian Ortega beats Diego Lopez. And there might be a lot of Diego Lopez fans listening to this podcast saying that Diego Lopez is going to beat Brian Ortega, but I don't see how. And if you guys see a way how he's going to do it, can you guys please comment and tell me how you think he's going to do it? Because I don't see a way he beats Brian Ortega. I think Brian Ortega is more of a dog than he is. I think he's a better boxer than he is. I think he's a better jiu-jitsu person than he is. So give me Brian Ortega as an underdog, and he's probably going to be our underdog of the night, probably the play of the day. Okay, guys, let's get into this main event. This one is going to be a banger. It's a rematch between Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochazka. For the first fight, I was all over Alex Pereira. Yuri coming off of that shoulder injury where almost ended his career. In the first fight, I put a decent amount of money on Alex Pereira to win the fight, and Yuri actually looked a lot better than I thought he did in the first couple rounds. He was actually landing on Alex, and he landed a takedown where he looked actually pretty good, like I was saying, and Alex ended up just catching it with the left hook like he catches everybody coming in eventually. He landed some decent leg kicks on Yuri in the first fight, and he kind of slowed down Yuri's movement. But going into this next fight, I think Yuri's gonna come different into that fight. I think he's learned a lot, and seen in that Rakic fight, a lot of people thought Rakic was gonna come in there and take Yuri down, and Yuri went in there and just showed Rakic that he really does have that samurai spirit that Rakic was saying he didn't have. He went in there and just showed how much of a dog he was. And coming into this fight with Alex Pereira, known to have he does have some broken toes. He's cutting about like 20 something pounds in 2 weeks to make this weight, and Yuri doesn't really cut that much weight to begin with. So I don't think the cardio is really going to be there for Alex Pereira in this fight for a 5-rounder. And if Yuri can just get out of the first 2 rounds, I think this is going to turn into a fight where Yuri's just going to put it on Alex later in the rounds and probably finish Alex in the later rounds in the 4th or 5th round. If he just keeps the pressure and just ends up just not getting caught with that left hook, it's better said than done. But I could just see Yuri winning this fight. All week I was saying I thought that Alex was probably going to end up winning. I was leaning Alex all week. I saw a lot of my friends and different people I listened to talk about fights saying that Alex is going to win, but I'm going with Yuri Prochazka. I think Yuri Prochazka is going to mix in some takedowns in the first 2 rounds, just stay away from the left hand and gas Alex out, because he's going to be cutting a lot of weight, and eventually finish Alex in the 4th or 5th round. I think it's going to be a late finish for for Yuri Prochazka to re-get his title, and we're eventually going to be seeing the 3rd matchup between these, and it's going to be a great showdown. I think this is going to be another great rivalry. So give me Yuri Prochazka, and I'm going to be taking him by probably, I'm going to say 4